Hi everybody, it's Holly Stout coming to you live from my office. This month, the month of September, is honey month. And so I'm going to talk to you just really quickly about the expertise of the bee. Now, when you look at the beehive as an organization, it is literally one of the most operationally efficient organizations or ecosystems on the planet. That's right, the beehive. And the reason why is because each bee is born and lives with one very specific role. And it knows from the time of birth what its role within the hive is. There's worker bees, there is a queen bee, there are housekeeping bees, there are drones, there are scouting bees. And each bee only does what its role dictates within the hive. It never deviates. It's always consistent. And because of that consistency, the beehive operates like a pure, operationally organized ecosystem. Now, the hive and the bee have many functions, and within the hive, the bee has some amazing properties. So you have the scouting bees that go outside of the hive, and they go to wildflowers and plants all over a very specific region. They fly very, very far, and they visit plants, and those bees collect the male seed of the flower. And combined with the various aspects of the bee, they combine it with their enzymes, their saliva, and they roll it into these little tiny pellets. They're almost the size of a grain of wheat. And those pellets are called pollen, bee pollen. And then they bring it back to the hive. And that pollen is absolutely famous for some specific properties, including the ability to enhance energy, create amazing stamina, and also support the body from allergies. So bee pollen is a really effective product that we have been able to get from the bee and get from the beehive and create supplements out of. Next up, we have bee propolis. Now, bee propolis is probably one of my favorite products, and the reason being is propolis is actually the sealant that the bee puts at the beginning of the hive before any bee that's been outside the hive enters into the hive. That propolis is notorious for its antibacterial properties. It is a natural ingredient that is created with the resin of trees, the enzymes and saliva of bees. They mix it all together and it becomes the most potently powerful antimicrobial, antibacterial element. That element alone allows the beehive to be one of the most naturally sterile environments on the planet. So each bee has to pass through this propolis. So naturally, that propolis ingredient is amazing for immune support. You can imagine those antibacterial properties. The bees actually co-create with plants, with nature, the ability to naturally defend their hives from any sort of environmental assaults. So bee propolis is a really precious ingredient, and it's amazing to help stay off anything that wants to assault a naturally sterile environment. Then we have royal jelly. Now, royal jelly is really specific. It's a milky-like substance, and it's actually created to identify the queen. So there's one queen bee in the hive, and her sole role is to produce other bees and to create that ecosystem of hundreds of thousands of bees, to keep them with their very specific roles and their very specific properties, to keep that hive sterile and to keep that hive replenished, so that each bee in a region, whether it is in an arid desert, whether it is in a mountain, whether it's in a wild field of flowers, whether it's in a forest, that bee keeps all of those bees working to help sustain that hive. Royal jelly is one of the most amazing ingredients for hair, skin, nails, energy, stamina, and it even helps at the cellular level because, again, it goes in and identifies those key qualities that can help elevate performance, because you can imagine the queen bee, she's really busy to be getting to go through that hive and to create all of those natural creatures that have a very specific role. That's a really busy job. So she needs a lot of energy, and it comes from this royal jelly, which is a substance that's only fed to a queen bee. And then finally, we have honey. And of course, it's honey month. And here at Forever Living Products, we have an amazing product called Forever Bee Honey that is really a culmination of all of those efforts with the bees. It contains the natural, as the bee goes to each flower, as it goes to each plant, as it collects the pollen, as it collects the male seed, as it collects the immune properties, as it combines it with its saliva, it fills the honeycombs inside the bee with honey. And Forever has found one of the best sources of honey available today. We sell it right now. It's called Forever Bee Honey, a tablespoon a day. Whether you drink it in a hot drink, whether you mix it in a cold drink, whether you pour it over your cereal, you put it on toast, or you just put it on a teaspoon and take it, all of the benefits that those bees work so hard for are found in the Forever Bee Honey. We also have amazing products like Forever Bee Pollen. This one is recommended to take 1 tablet, a quarter of a tablet to start, because it's a really strong product. And then ultimately you'll get to 1 tablet a day, and you can take it up to 2 times a day. As we talked about earlier, pollen's great for energy. It helps sustain those with that are in an athletic training program. It's great to help stay off those midday cravings. And then next up we have our Forever Bee Propolis. We talked about Propolis being that amazing product that has those antibacterial properties that the hive is sealed with to make a completely sterile environment. So we're going into cold and flu season. I'm getting ready to travel, as I mentioned earlier, to our Forever families across the world. So I'm going to go ahead right now and I'm going to take my bee Propolis. And then we have our Forever Royal Jelly. This is actually 1 tablet twice a day. I take a lot of supplements because I do eat well, but I also know that I live a very busy and active lifestyle, and I know that sometimes I don't always make the best food choices, so I need supplementation. So combined, my pollen, my Propolis, my Royal Jelly, and my Forever Aloe Vera Gel and my 330, I'm going to go ahead and in recognition of September being Honey Month, I'm going to thank the bees for all of the amazing work that they do to support our bodies and supplement our diets when we don't always make the right choices. So here we go. There we are.